Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's time for the third, fourth place matchup here in the TSL3. I'm DJ Wheat. Joining me is Husky. And remember, folks, it is time for you guys to hit up that raffle. Today is the last day. So go over to teamliquid.net/raffle for non-U.S. citizens. You still have one more chance to get in here, get signed up for the raffle, and win an all-paid expense trip over to Korea. Meet a lot of famous people over there involved in the StarCraft 2 scene. It'll be great. Go ahead and check that out. Husky, why don't you introduce our players and tell us where they're at?
I would absolutely love to do that. Up here in the top right side is going to be Kaz, and he is going to be, of course, your Terran player. And down in the bottom right side is going to be HasuObs. So again, if you are just watching these VODs on the YouTube, just make sure you follow the YouTube for Team Liquid. It is youtube.com/teamliquidnet. That's where you can catch all these games if for some reason you miss a single second of the action. So go make sure to follow that. And also, really quick, as this game is getting underway, I want to mention there is a very high chance I will be evicted from my apartment mid-cast. I don't know if this has ever been accomplished before, but in my apartment, the only thing left is my computer as I have moved into my new place, but they didn't have the internet ready, so I said, you know what, I'm going to spend my very last day in my apartment casting the TSL, because I think that's what a respectable nerd would do.
Yeah, and you know what? I do have respect for a nerd brother like that. You know, you get done, do whatever you got to do to get the casting done. I think that's awesome. So as we start things out here, Husky, we do see Gas and the racks about ready to finish here for our Terran player Kas. You know, you had mentioned a little bit about the patch, and if I had to say, well, if one player was going to take a bigger disadvantage or a bigger hit because of that, I think we can all agree that HasuObs is kind of getting the worst end of that deal. You know, Kas, sure, now he gets a little bit less minerals on his bunker, and you know, Ghost, that change might actually help him a little bit, you know, later on as far as the whole minerals versus gas for the Terran. But all of the timing's changing for the gateway units, for the warp gate. You know, it does seem to really have changed how the Protoss is going to have to approach things. It will change timings a little bit. It will cause, you know, your warp gates to come out quicker. So some of that early rush is no longer available to you, or some of that early aggression from the Protoss. But, you know, they haven't also fully explored it yet. So anything can happen, but if I had to go out on a limb, I would definitely say HasuObs. I kind of hope he put in those extra games to get acclimated to that timing change.
And basically what I've seen, I mean, there's very few replays out there since the SCV, scouting SCV almost getting taken out right there. But it just needs to be careful with that. One thing I've noticed with the recent changes is it does allow the Terrans to be a little more aggressive here, which you can see that Kaz does have a Marauder out, basically just chilling out there, and also the scouting SCV there. But anyways, it does force the Protoss to get out a couple of Stalkers before the Warp Gate technology is finished. You can see one Stalker is already done. We'll see if he continues producing more. And he does have 2 gateways right now, and he is producing Stalkers out of both of those, and that's something that is definitely a change from the kind of playstyle that we would see from players, because you would see them rush towards that warp gate much more quickly, but it's just impossible to get it out. So you have to be very active with these Stalkers. You can see Hasu is going to be scouting around, trying to see exactly what's headed his way, and this game may get underway very quickly. I like this from Kaz. The reason he's doing this is to try and punish a Protoss who is not used to the new changes. Usually you would sit back and have your warp gates just about finishing right now, but thankfully for HasuObs, he is expecting it, although his first Stalker is going to get intercepted here, causing virtually no damage, and that's not a good way to start this series.
Oh yeah, he was actually on move command 2, so he moves forward, and I think a ton of damage is going to be done here by Empire.Kas. He's immediately going to go after a pylon, a few probes, and an additional Stalker has come out, so actually not that much damage. He does have to pull a few probes here. He's going to go ahead and go after that Marine, micros him well, but he does get taken out by the probes, and so going after the Stalker, great thing, we got a third Marauder coming in too. Now they'll just be able to decimate these probes. He's going to get 2 more sentries as well, and all these probes going to come back. Here comes that Stalker who was out on a little walk. He realizes, yeah, I probably need to come back here and help. The probe's doing a ton of damage, and finally getting that second Marauder down. So although there was some really, really good aggression there by Kas, well, he's going to turn around and get a couple more probes. This might not be over, but as we get another Stalker out, he's going to eventually need to stop this. We do have another Marauder on the way. He will turn around and go back. But think about it. We got at least 3 stalkers killed, 2 sentries, about 4 probes. If we look at the income tab, you see the Terran is actually still behind. So HasuObs doesn't look too far behind, despite the fact that Kas got quite a few kills there.
Now, one thing during that is I was kind of keeping an eye on the resources for HasuObs. He did get really high in the resource count. Of course, he was focusing on heavy micro, but that does mean that his expansion was delayed. He had about 600 minerals by the time that expansion finally went down, and you can tell he's definitely hurting a little bit on the timing, as Empire.Kas almost has his 2nd orbital completed and already has his SCVs transferred to that location. Just now going to be dropping a mule there as well. And so I think this is something we're going to see from Terran players a lot more until Protoss can react accordingly. It basically comes down to the Protoss having to micro a little bit better than what we saw HasuObs do. I mean, losing those first 2 sentries, that is 200 gas just going right out the window, which is not a comfortable position to be in. And you can see right now Hasu transferring over his workers, going to be grabbing the robotics right now.
Over on the Terran side, Kas is putting down his engineering bay, and that will be done shortly. We also have a factory going down as well, but pretty much Kas wanting to stick to a bio-heavy army. He is going to get +1 weapons as soon as that engineering bay finishes. And right now, over on HasuObs' side, yeah, we do have the robotics facility down with an observer coming out. Nothing being put out of there quite yet, but his unit count is fairly weak right now. If you just look at the units tab, we've got, you know, a zealot, 2 stalkers, and 4 sentries. So right now, certainly army advantage going to Kas. It does look like Kas is going to go on the move here, and with the warp gates open and 3 gates, he's definitely going to need a few more units to be able to stop this, but the observer will catch Kas on his march down.
Yeah, and it's very important you're mentioning the army advantage going to Kas, and the reason that's very important is because as a Protoss, to go against a Marine Marauder ball like this, you either need really good upgrades or really good tech, and I mean, your opponent can march out at any time and put on a lot of pressure. So now all of a sudden HasuObs is going to be in this kind of awkward position where, I mean, I'm looking around and I don't see a forge anywhere, which when you're going against Marine Marauder, you absolutely need to start getting those armor upgrades, and Kas does have his +1 attack on the way. It's about 3/4 completed, also has his combat shields on the way, and already throwing down an armory and another engineering base. So this game is going to be very heavily upgraded Marine Marauder, which I think is going to be extremely effective against the fact that HasuObs is seemingly rushing towards Colossus, just now squeezing out 1 Immortal as well. So as this game progresses, I don't know if either player can get knocked out super early because the supplies are still at 84 to 85, but the upgrade advantage, the longer this goes on, seemingly to favor Kas right now.
Yeah, and Kas right now, I feel like, well, he's getting medevacs. They're on their way. There should be 2 coming up very soon. Infantry armor is going up now, and weapons is about to complete. I feel like Kas would really benefit from an attack here in this window. We are going to see another observer coming out and a few stalkers moving forward, but there's not a whole lot of units right here for HasuObs. And of course, once that Colossus comes out, the army's going to be a little bit more scary to deal with. It does look like he's on the move now, and with this bio-heavy army, I really feel like he's got to hit this before that first Colossus comes out, which is not going to happen. It just it popped out of the robotics facility, but will he get there before extended thermal lance? That's the other thing we got to ask ourselves, and this army is on its way down.
Yeah, and you can already see armor level 1 is queued up, as well as attack level 2. Looking at the Protoss base, still no forge. There is going to be a second robo, so instead of going for upgrades, he's going to opt for more of a strong army. Although we'll see if that's going to pay off, as there's a lot of Marauders in this army. It is going to be delaying the third for HasuObs. You can see he has 400 minerals, wants to try and take that expansion. For now, there is going to be a slight engagement here. 1 force field, not going to do a lot. The Colossus will probably just step on those to reopen that entrance. And Empire.Kas did poke in there. It may look like he didn't do much, but the minerals there for just a second were at 800 for HasuObs, so he was definitely looking to take that expansion, just now throwing down that Nexus. So at virtually no loss, he was able to delay that expansion, which is just going to allow him to get further and further ahead in his upgrades, which you can see even Terran ship weapons level 1 is on the way, as well as a third base for Kas. So I think he's playing this very smart, not committing too much, even though the supplies are exact, or basically exactly the same here. That's very misleading, because I think Kas ahead in upgrades and the expansion timing should be in pretty good shape here moving forward.
Yeah, and you know, that I guess you could call it a scouting attack there by Kas. He moved in through the back, the safe way to go in, and he wasn't able to take out that pylon, but did get a good look at that army. So since he got a medevacs out earlier, he's now switched over to Viking production. He loaded up 2 of his medevacs, and he has sent them to the far right side of the map. Does look like he might go in, possibly poke while attacking this third base, or maybe go right over the third. And it does look like HasuObs is really keeping his focus over near that third, and for good reason. Back here by this tall grass, it's a nice little place for your enemy to sneak in there and move in for an attack. We are going to see the medevacs go right past that, and I do not think that they had vision of this, so he may have no idea that this attack is coming. While we have another army moving down into the third, this could be real nasty here from Kas.
Yeah, you're going to want to keep an eye on both of these battles as the drop is now happening right in the main base. Unfortunately, Hasu did move all the stalkers that were there, so if he falls back with all of his army to defend, he will lose his third as well. You can see it's some indecision in the Protoss army. He did decide to engage the army up here on the right side, but at the same time, the tech structures are going down. The upgrades have not finished. Blink is not done at all. The +1 attack only halfway done. Both of those tech structures are going to get taken out, and that is going to go down right now. And not only is he dealing damage to the probes, the economy, but also the upgrades, which he's already behind on, and the attack still happening on the right side here, and one Colossus will get sniped right there, but at what cost? A lot of the Marines getting roasted away before they retreat. But this attack in the main base right now is not even cleaned up yet.
Oh my god, this attack did so much damage in the grand scheme of things. It halted the production of 2 upgrades. It stopped all that mining. It was absolutely perfect. He did leave that still with 1 medevac full of units. So, I mean, in trade for a few Marines, he took out a ton of probes, stopped those upgrades, and you can see that level 3 is on the way for Kas right now, which is just going to, I mean, just on upgrades alone, the amount of bio that he has, he's got a slight supply lead right now. We've got the Ghost Academy down as well, so he'll be working with the EMPs. His Viking count, I think, is about the only thing that needs work right now, but he still has that upgrade advantage, which will be here. Then here's the drop in the back. I'm sorry I missed that. It does look like he attacked the third as well, Husky, and I was just kind of in awe at the Colossus count of HasuObs because he does have a lot. So if Kas can get that Viking number up a little bit higher, I think he should have no problem finishing off HasuObs. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit early call, but he's done some significant damage so far in this matchup.
One thing I've been keeping an eye on as well during that is the production tab. Kas has been wisely making basically all Marauders. Right now he has 5. He's had up to 6 or 7 being produced at the same time because he's seeing all these Colossus and he's going, well, my Viking count isn't super healthy, although he does have several on the field now, and he's going Colossus and a Gateway ground army. So he's just basically going to mass out those Marauders, and it will come down to positioning. This does kind of remind me of a TVT in a little ways in that the positioning of the Marauders is going to be huge. If he doesn't clump them up and gets a nice little surround on the Colossus are going to die instantly, but if some nice force fields trap them in a narrow choke, and the Colossus will act as siege tanks and just do lots of splash damage. Now, again, if we look at the units lost tab, they're virtually identical, but that's very misleading because a huge upgrade advantage still for Empire.Kas.
Yeah, and here we go. We have Kas mounting up in a offensive posture here. We'll have a few. Oh, we do have a pretty good EMP. It does affect about half the units there. And as these stalkers move forward, all of the sentries are gone, so no more force fields here for the Protoss player. We've also got a drop at the third while this is happening at the front. And right now, the Protoss is just being pulled from every single limb right now, Husky. He's trying to control his units. He just now realizes what's going on at his third. He cuts his army in half to move it back, and it does look like Kas is going to continue to do damage with this original medevac that was there on that first drop as well. He's going to come in again. Oh, the medevac goes down, and although he loses it, he is distracted HasuObs so much. Oh my gosh, this is not good for Hasu.
This is non-stop action right now as the attack on the third is going to be convincing as well. The Nexus may very well go down. Again, the positioning of the Colossus is very important here. Nice spreading here by Kas, able to split them up quite easily. Force Field's not doing a whole lot in this battle as the sentries are just getting whittled down, and he's killed the Nexus. You can see him immediately backing out to get a better position. Does try and snipe one Colossus, is going to get that down right now, and I'm keeping an eye on the units lost tab, and again, it's starting to equal out a little bit, but the problem is that he is now down in expansion. His opponent has also expanded during this, and those drops back and forth have killed so many workers. Looking at the workers killed, our Terran player has killed 38 workers to 0 for HasuObs, and again, with that massive upgrade advantage, it is now an uphill battle for HasuObs the further and further this game goes along, because his economy is behind. He does have his third base now, kind of outside of his what should be his fourth, but man, after those battles, you can see he still is at 0, 0, 0 upgrades. The multitasking so far of Kaz in this game has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and even though we saw HasuObs left over with about 3 Colossus after that battle, it's not that great considering that his ground army is nearly non-existent, and he's struggling right now. He has a bunch of High Templar out, and Storm is finished researching, so of course that will be very, very important in this next matchup. However, I'm still concerned at a lack of a ground army here for HasuObs. I think that might really be a downfall. Does look like Hasu is going to try to get that natural third going again, but here comes Kaz yet again, this time having a few more Vikings. I do think there's a Ghost in there as well, and a ton of Marauders, and I don't know, will this be the final battle? It's certainly going to do some damage.
Yeah, and the Ghost in there will be able to EMP all those sentries. Thankfully, the Colossus are big enough. EMP doesn't affect them as much. 1 EMP is going to go down, and the High Templar are trying to desperately keep their energy. Now, even if Kaz does lose this battle, I'm sure Observer has caught a glimpse of it, but there is lots of command centers all over the map for our Terran player, so he can almost sacrifice this army. I saw him dropping 8 mules at a time as well. A little bit of micro going back and forth. Blink is finally finished, but the Stalkers literally just blink to their doom. And Marauders, so robust with those upgrades, able to just tank those storms. We do have 3 attack and 2 armor. Even the Vikings just using the high ground to take out as many Colossus as possible, sniping one last Colossus before the retreat here. And again, just looking at the units lost tab, you would think, wow, this is a really, really close game, but Kaz is just expanding like crazy. He's building another command center in the top left side. He has a command center almost finishing in the center top as well. So Kaz, I mean, he's basically forcing HasuObs to have to crank out these units as quickly as possible, have to cut those upgrades, and now that he's forced him to get Colossus and High Templar, that tech is very, very expensive, so if he can keep the units down, the unit numbers down, then the army is surprisingly weak, so that's why Kaz has been just constantly aggressive here.
You know, the other thing I really have to give HasuObs credit for is because he, hold on, we have Kaz moving forward yet again, dropping a storm, is that he has basically been zoning his opponent. Hold on, he did try to get a feedback off on that Ghost. He's going to lose all the energy on that Templar. He's got to move back. But what he was doing was using the extended thermal lance and the range of those Colossus to hurt those Marauders, and then dropping those storms in front of the Marauders, pretty much putting them out of the range and saying, yeah, why don't you walk towards me and try to take out my Colossi and eat all this storm damage. So some really great zoning there by HasuObs, making up for the fact that he didn't have that ground army. But Kaz now definitely looking for a good position to attack with. He knows that's the case, and quite frankly, now we have a few more Stalkers, so HasuObs looking in much better shape than he was even just moments ago. He fought that battle nicely. We do have a few units here from Kaz, though, going and searching for expansions. He is going to find one here in the Southwest Husky and be able to cancel that one, no problem.
One thing that Kaz just did right here is in the center of the map, you saw the little glimmer of that Observer, scanned it, and took it out. So right now, our Protoss player, HasuObs, does not have a single Observer. He does have 2 Nexuses on the way, one just now finishing. There's an attack at one of the Nexus on the bottom left side, and engagement in the center of the map as well. That Nexus just finishes, gets immediately taken out on the bottom left side. That is huge. And Ghost Cloaking has just finished. That's why I'm going to mention the fact that there's no Observers. If he uses that Cloak and EMPs, all the High Templar will be huge. There is an attack now at the bottom tier. He does focus down the Nexus. That +3 attack on those Marauders takes it out. And again, this group will be taken out. There's going to be an attack at the same time. The multitasking crazy on the right side. There's not even any units mining here right now. This could be a 3 Nexus snipe. You can see that HasuObs is trying to scramble all over the map. The multitasking of this Terran player right now is top-notch, and this is how you need to play out PvT. There's a huge supply advantage to the Protoss, but it doesn't even matter because he just lost 3 bases.
Yeah, and he's hugely supply blocked right now. 188 to 164. Great blink by HasuObs to surround those Marauders, get maximum damage there. And that certainly was a huge stumping there. Just take a look. There's no mining going on right now for Hasu. I think it's just long distance mining as he waits for this Nexus to get up. And that means that HasuObs has to attack. He knows he's done some serious damage. So now it comes down to, can Kaz hold this off? He's going to put up a few extra missile turrets. This could could actually be really bad for Kas. HasuObs army looking not too shabby, but we're going to be able to see Kas reinforced. So no EMPs going off quite yet. There's a big one right on the center of this clumpy army, and he is going to take out a lot of these units, but in come those High Templars, dropping storm all around, and the units from Kas are just melting left and right. Now there's just a few Colossi left and a lot of High Templar. High Templar do have quite a bit of energy, so he's going to need to attack with these Bioforces in some sort of a mass, maybe even get a Ghost out, try to get an EMP, but it looks like he is going to chase him out. All the ground units gotten rid of, but really, really scary attack by Kas. He does manage to hold it off.
Also down the bottom center during that entire thing, there was a Marauder shooting gallery. They're just now getting taken out by the probes, but they did rake in about 10 probe kills, and you can see that HasuObs is forced to back out here. So again, even though if we look at the units lost tab, you would say, wow, this isn't too surprisingly different. That is why you really have to pay attention to what's going on in the game, not just a silly little units lost tab, because, I mean, HasuObs has just taken a beating in these games. You can see the map is virtually cut in half now, just looking around at all the Terran expansions. Virtually all of them are fully saturated, fully mining, and that leaves him with so many orbital commands to just drop mules like crazy. So even though HasuObs did put on some pressure there, and he was basically forced into doing that, he did not have the units to finish the deal. Even though he killed that army, there was so many barracks inside the main base of Kas. I can't even count this high, there's so many barracks. He was able to just remake that army as if he had warp gates, just because there's so many barracks right now.
Oh, and I mean, right now, the bank is just ridiculous for Kas. He's sitting on 2,100 minerals. He's definitely holding up on his gas. I mean, he's spending that, but he's got a lot of excess, so he can make those extra rounds of Marines if he needs to. Right now, we do have, I mean, just, unfortunately, the unit counting station is not looking so great. Did throw in some Dark Templar, and it does look like he's trying to use those to harass around these expansions. I think that's a really, really solid idea. He needs any advantage that he can get right now. But the problem to me is like HasuObs' basic core army here. You know, with all these High Templar, yes, he can do a significant amount of damage, but I'm really concerned about EMPs coming out here by Kas. He's got a ton of Marauders, well, where are his ghosts? Trying to look around. He does have one ghost in this army. He's going to snipe that observer. And, well, are we even going to get feedback? He's going to cloak up. He does manage to hit one High Templar, and he's going to chase to try to get out all the energy from these High Templar, but he's going to have to back off.
Yeah, and he didn't have, again, those observers to spot those cloak ghosts. I believe he still hasn't remade those observers at all, and that's gonna, he's going to absolutely need to, otherwise there's going to be cloak ghosts going all the way around. And again, the workers killed tab, still 53 workers killed for our Terran player, which that shows you, even though the units lost tab is fairly similar, the Terran player is losing several thousand more resources. If you don't have the workers to back it up, then you are still in a world of hurt. There's still some more harassment up in the top center. There's one stalker here who's killed a couple of workers as well. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I mean, at this point, it might be doing Kaz a favor, as he is now maxed out. And, I mean, that's just freeing up supply for more and more units. And now he's maxed out. He is just rolling in additional resources here. So at this point, it's really up to the Terran player when he wants to attack. A couple of storms in the center, not going to do a massive amount of damage. But, I mean, the longer the Terran player sits back, it is allowing the Protoss to catch up second by second. But I think it would take many, many minutes for HasuObs to recover from this.
There is a DT beating on Kas's army here, and he has not yet scanned to get rid of it. I think he's going to go ahead and do that now. Not sure if he was taking care of something else. I know that there's been a lot of DTs from Hasu's trying to come over here, and it does look like planetary orbitals, so I thought that he had the energy for it, but maybe not, using those mules to try to keep up. He's also taking that low base next to his main as well, and we do see HasuObs trying to also get an additional base up. Now there's a lot more ghosts this time around. He's going to scan, miss the DT. No, there he gets him. And now it looks like Kas really, really wants to attack here. He's definitely got plenty of ghosts, but a lot more observers out to try to snipe those too. He's spread out his High Templar. He's going to go back here, not find a base, and positionally, this could be good for HasuObs. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, the supplies, though, 167 to that 198, and really the worker, I'm looking at the worker counts, they are about the same, so that just means the Terran army, much more powerful, and again, those 3-3 upgrades going to play a huge role here. So many Vikings that Colossus may not be able to hold their own, as the Vikings can almost one or two shot the Colossus right here. But here comes a very important battle. This could be a crucial battle. Whoever wins this battle, well, HasuObs, if he wins, will just hang on for a little bit longer, as Kaz is already macroing up an entire army once he focuses back on his base. There he goes right now. So Storms are going to be doing a lot of damage to these Vikings. That's one problem, is clumping up the Vikings, doing a lot of damage there, kind of trying to even out the supplies. But it does look like HasuObs is going to lose that battle. But can he make an army in time to defend against this? There's also an attack down at his really only mining base that is easy to defend. Does clean that up, but there's going to be still units loose inside the base. Now 78 supply to 154. That's just showing you the huge macro advantage that Kaz has right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be over pretty soon. Attacking now, the naturally took out his DT Shrine, his Dark Shrine. He's going to start working on some other units here. We've got some Zealots moving out. They do have charge, but with Medivacs up and Vikings to protect just in case, here come a few more Zealots and DTs. This could clean it up, but what would come after that, Husky? A lot more probes going down right now. It's 52 Arbisters to 65 for Kaz, but the problem is most of those are at one base for HasuObs. So another scan goes down. The units are picked up, which was very, very wise. And you can see HasuObs is left with just a little bit. Another drop in the only mining base of HasuObs. And eventually, no, he's got another one down here that's almost out, but he is just really, really resource starved right now.
And this is how you need to play against a Protoss player, is hurt them early, hurt the upgrades, and then just harass at all the different locations, because Marauders can be very powerful when backed with a medevac, and we're seeing Kaz utilize this, where he's just dropping a couple units here and there. And again, I'm almost scared to look at the workers killed tab. 80 workers killed for the Terran player, only 16 killed by our Protoss player. And you can see Kaz feeling very confident here. He's landed his Vikings in the center of the map and may just steamroll his way into his opponent. He knows there's an expansion over here. It really doesn't need to be taken out, though, as he has killed all the workers, and there is a huge clump of workers down in the bottom center, which may get intercepted here. That is the wrong place, wrong time to be if you are a probe of HasuObs, and the worker killed station is exploding right now, just like HasuObs' chance of winning this game. And I think it came down to the early harassment, especially that drop, just delaying those upgrades. I really felt like it put HasuObs on the defensive for the next 30 or so minutes, as there's going to be the GG right there. That was an amazing game by Kaz, but I do want to hand it to HasuObs, able to hold on and keep defending and running back and forth, trying to defend against this constant multiple-pronged harassment of Empire.Kas. So really strong play here by both players. HasuObs was able to survive for 37 minutes, and I think the biggest deal in this entire game was the upgrades. I still have the replay open here for just a second. 3-3 upgrades for the Terran player had been done for quite a while. Only one armor for HasuObs was able to be researched for that entire game. That really speaks, I think, of why we kept seeing the Protoss army just melt away like that.
Yeah, I mean, that made a huge difference there. He stopped a lot with that one hit, and you know, it put him back. He had to stop mining a little bit. Then he continued to use that medevac to harass. So the value that he got out of the 2 medevacs and I think 8 Marines and 4 Marauders he took over there was just absolutely phenomenal. At that point, he just got more and more ahead, and the upgrades, I agree, made a huge difference. I mean, if you're going to go with an all-bio army like that, you almost have to guarantee yourself that you're going to be 3-3. And once he had that advantage on the upgrades, he just didn't look back, and that made a huge difference. So Kaz taking game number 1, and our next map is going to be Xel'Naga Caverns. Now, you can see that before we went into game 1, HasuObs was a little bit more ahead in the polls. It has certainly evened itself out. We're now sitting at a straight-up 50-50 split. Those are still great odds. I think the liquid bets, Husky, were almost dead even as well. So don't give up hope yet, because as we go into game number 2, anything can happen. Xel'Naga Caverns, certainly much more standard map. A lot of these guys have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games of practice on this one. So it's just kind of an oldie but a goodie, if you want to call it that. So I think we're going to, are we about ready to hop into game 2? I mean,
I am super amped for game number 2. Again, guys, the URL is pokerstrategy.tsl3.com/poll, and you can see exactly if everyone's trying to favor the Terran there. And hopefully HasuObs still has fans out there that are rooting for him, because he did play really, really well. It just shows you at the highest level of play, if one thing kind of throws you off, like just losing a couple of upgrades, how it can quickly snowball out of control, and especially in the longer and longer and longer game. I mean, those problems that you experience in the early game just are hurting you more and more. So, again, that one came down to killing 1,000,000 workers and not being able to return it for the Protoss. And so, I mean, that was, I believe, a 37-minute game. So both these players definitely have the ability to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe, whatever you want to say. So in this next game, which is Xel'Naga Caverns, also, a lot of the games that I've cast on my own channel is the games seem to be surprisingly long. Like, you look at the layout of the map and you're kind of like, well, there's a straight shot to your opponent's base. The map's not that big. It's just a 2-player map, but there's just something about it. Kind of reminds me of Steps of War, where sometimes you would see huge macro fest games on that map, and so I would not be surprised to see the exact same thing here. I'm curious to see if Kaz goes for that early aggression once again, or some sort of mid-game timing attack there, just because it seemed to do so well for him last game, especially the multitasking. That was phenomenal play. So if you're a Terran player, you can definitely learn a lot from that. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. I'm going to try and chow down this sandwich super quick because that game definitely took it out of me. Thankfully, I haven't been evicted out of my apartment yet, so we are doing good. We are 1/7 the way there. So let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break, guys, and we will be right back, I promise, with game number 2 of HasuObs versus Kaz.